You meet someone, there's connection, chemistry, familiarity. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the pattern begins. They start pulling away. They're hot, then cold, present, then distant, emotionally open one moment, unreachable the next. And once again, without meaning to, you find yourself doing the work of holding the entire relationship together. You overthink, you overfunction, you wait for their attention like oxygen, and deep down you wonder, why do I keep attracting people who can't meet me emotionally? Carl Jung wouldn't have told you it's bad luck or a cruel universe. He would have said, this is not coincidence. It's pattern recognition, and the pattern lives not outside you, but deep within your psyche. Jung's work wasn't about blaming yourself. It was about becoming conscious of the unconscious forces that shape your relational life. Because the people we're drawn to, the ones who activate our deepest longing, often carry something unprocessed from our own past. That's why emotionally unavailable people feel so magnetic. They light up something inside you that says, maybe this time I can earn it. Maybe this time I'll be enough. Maybe this time I won't be abandoned. This isn't about logic. It's about wiring. Jung believed that until we do the deep work of shadow integration, we will continue to be pulled toward the exact dynamic that keeps us small. Not because we're broken, but because some part of us is still trying to fix the past by reenacting it in the present. It often starts in childhood. You loved someone who couldn't show up for you fully, a parent who was distant, inconsistent, overwhelmed, emotionally shut down. As a child, you didn't say, they're unavailable. You said, something must be wrong with me. That conclusion became your template for connection. Love became something you chase, something you earn, something you prove yourself worthy of. So when you meet someone who makes you work for their affection, your nervous system lights up. It feels like love, because it feels like home. Jung would call this a repetition compulsion, driven by your unconscious desire to resolve an old wound. You don't consciously choose people who can't love you, but your unconscious believes, if you can just get this person to stay, then maybe, finally, you'll heal the part of you that was once abandoned. The problem is, you're using the same energy that created the wound to try and heal it, and it doesn't work. So, what does work? Awareness, disidentification, the willingness to stop chasing people who reflect your pain and start building a life that reflects your wholeness. And if this content is making sense to you, then click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Because healing this pattern isn't about finding the right person. It's about becoming the version of you who no longer finds emotional starvation familiar. The version of you who doesn't call anxiety chemistry, who doesn't confuse inconsistency with passion, who doesn't keep proving their worth to people who aren't even available to receive it. How your shadow chooses your partners, and how to choose differently. Carl Jung believed that the shadow is the part of ourselves we've disowned. The emotions, needs, and truths we've been taught are unacceptable. And here's the twist. The more unconscious your shadow, the more likely you are to project it onto others, especially in love, especially in relationships. So when you find yourself repeatedly drawn to people who can't emotionally show up for you, it's not just about them. It's about what part of you has gone unseen, unheard, or unloved within your own psyche. When someone is emotionally unavailable, they're often protecting something: vulnerability, pain, fear of intimacy. But when you are emotionally available to everyone except yourself, you also create a blind spot. You prioritize connection over self-awareness. You ignore red flags. You chase intensity over intimacy. Why? Because your shadow is choosing, not yourself. And the shadow doesn't want truth. It wants familiarity. It wants to resolve a childhood script by proving you're lovable. This time, but Jung's work shows us, what you suppress in yourself, you will attract in others. If you suppress your own emotional needs, you'll attract people who ignore them. If you suppress your own voice, you'll find partners who talk over it. If you suppress your anger, you'll fall for those who ignite it in you. This is not punishment, it's pattern. And patterns are not broken by willpower, they're broken by awareness. So what does choosing differently look like? It begins with honesty, not about them, about you. Ask, what part of me feels safer being the giver than the receiver? What part of me equates silence with safety? What part of me is still scared that true connection will cost me my freedom, my power, my identity? Then comes integration. You begin to invite your disowned parts back in. The part of you that's needy, sensitive, angry, tender, scared. Instead of pushing them away, you sit with them, you hold space, you listen, because when those parts of you feel seen by you, you stop needing unavailable people to reflect them back in distorted ways. Jung taught that we attract others not just based on chemistry, but on projection. And the less you project, the more clearly you see. You stop falling for potential. You stop romanticizing neglect. You stop calling emotional withholding mystery. You stop getting high off the chase, because you've started choosing, not from your wound, but from your wholeness. And from that place, love feels different, calmer, safer, sometimes even boring at first. Because when you've been addicted to emotional roller coasters, peace can feel unfamiliar. But unfamiliar isn't bad. Unfamiliar is just new, and new is where healing begins. Why availability feels unsafe, and how to stop sabotaging healthy love. You say you want real love, safety, consistency, deep emotional connection. But when someone finally offers that, why does it feel so uncomfortable? Why do you pull away, doubt it, or sabotage it? Carl Jung would say, it's not because the love is wrong, it's because it's foreign. Because when you've spent years being drawn to unavailability, availability feels threatening, not consciously, but unconsciously. It's too still, too calm, too easy, and your nervous system doesn't know what to do with that. This is where many people get stuck. They keep saying, all I meet are emotionally unavailable people. But what they don't see is that the moment someone is available, they become the one who pulls away. Not out of malice, out of fear. Fear that the calm will become boring, that the safety will make them lose their spark. That true intimacy will require them to be fully seen. And what if, when they're seen, they're no longer loved? This is shadow defense. It's the part of you that believes love must be earned, that it must be dramatic to be real, that it must involve a chase to feel exciting. Jung warned us, the ego will always cling to the familiar, even if the familiar is pain. So when peace shows up, the ego panics. Where's the twist? Where's the chaos? Where's the part where I have to fix them to prove I'm worthy? And here's the truth. Until you heal that internal blueprint, healthy love won't feel safe. It'll feel flat, suspicious, maybe even irritating. You'll crave the person who keeps you guessing instead of the one who keeps showing up. You'll mistake calm presence for lack of passion. But underneath that reaction is something simple. Your system doesn't trust that love can be both steady and alive. But it can. You just haven't experienced it yet. So, how do you stop sabotaging healthy love? First, you name what safety actually feels like in the body. Not excitement, not butterflies, but steadiness, warmth, openness. You retrain your nervous system to recognize calm as a good sign, not a boring one. Second, you slow down. You stop rushing into intensity and start watching patterns over time. Third, you get honest about the parts of you that fear being seen. And instead of performing perfection, you show up as you, unfiltered, honest, available. Because that's how you invite someone who's also emotionally available, not just in words, but in energy. Jung believed that when we integrate the shadow, we stop repeating the same cycles. Because the pain is no longer in charge of the picking. Your self is, and your self doesn't chase. It chooses, calmly, clearly, without confusion, how to end the pattern, and finally attract the love you actually deserve. You don't break the pattern by finding a better partner. You break the pattern by becoming the version of yourself who no longer seeks love from places that starve you. Carl Jung believed that transformation happens not by fixing others, but by facing the unconscious beliefs that shaped our attraction in the first place. So if you're ready to stop attracting emotionally unavailable people, The real shift begins with one question: what part of me still believes love must be earned? That belief, subtle, inherited, wired into your nervous system, is what keeps you chasing. It keeps you choosing people who don't choose you, not because you want to suffer, but because your inner child is still trying to rewrite history. But now, you get to do something different. You get to reparent that child. You get to say, we don't chase love anymore. We don't overfunction. We don't prove our worth to people who can't hold it. You begin to trust consistency. You begin to honor slowness. You begin to show up for yourself first. That doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you stop loving them from your wound. You start loving them from your wholeness. And when you do that, when you live from truth, not trauma, emotionally unavailable people stop feeling magnetic. They don't feel like chemistry anymore. They feel like a misalignment. And instead of chasing, you let them go. Not in anger, in clarity. You start attracting differently, not just romantically, in friendships, in community, in how you show up in your work. Because you're no longer leaking your energy. You're no longer performing for approval. You've returned to yourself. And that's the energy that draws people who can actually meet you. Because like attracts like, and the moment you become available to your own heart, your own voice, your own healing, is the moment emotionally available people start showing up too. Jung would call this integration, the final step of individuation, where you no longer live in reaction to the past, where you no longer seek validation from people who reflect your shadow, where you've become so rooted in your worth that nothing unavailable can seduce you anymore. And that's the moment you've been waiting for. Not the moment they come back, but the moment you no longer want them to. If you made it this far, you're not just watching, you're remembering, returning, reclaiming your inner ground. So trust that the video YouTube shows you next, the one appearing now, is not random. It's the next doorway, the next layer, and it will meet you exactly where you are. If this resonated, take a moment to subscribe. Drop a comment below, not for the algorithm, but to mark this chapter in your journey. We'll see you in the next depth. Depthoria continues.